I discovered my daughter-in-law's shocking secret 5 minutes before my son's wedding. I'm ending everything. Janet's heart raced as she unfolded the delicate paper, her hands trembling. The loamy scent of earth mixing with the fresh-cut flowers around her seemed a cruel joke against the revelation she held in her palms. This letter, buried in the attic and hidden away under layers of confetti and tulle, was a bombshell in a day meant for love. She had spent countless hours crafting the perfect wedding for her son David and his bride Claire, yet here she was, churning with panic just moments before they would exchange vows. It was a picturesque day in Ohio. The sun spilled warmth over the white church, kids ran laughing on well-trimmed lawns, and the aroma of freshly baked cookies wafted from the open windows of their quaint communities. Yet none of that mattered to Janet as she read on, the words shifting from mere letters to bricks pressing down on her chest. Claire's father, a veteran she deeply respected, wrote earnestly about their family's financial troubles, the pride that kept him from reaching out for help, the shame of struggling in silence. "I'm scared for Claire's future," it read. "I want her to have the life she deserves, but I don't know how." The tight knot in Janet's stomach twisted, and her heart ached. The foundation of support she believed was firmly built between their families now felt fragile. She had wanted Claire as a daughter, loved her for her passion and strength, yet here was an unspoken truth that threatened to unravel everything. Should she confront Claire and disrupt the joyous day, or should she quietly bury the letter in hopes of protecting them all from a painful reality? As the minutes ticked by and guests mingled in excitement, Janet's wedding day euphoria was overshadowed by guilt and dread. She could see Claire through the veil of her nerves, her eyes sparkled with joy despite the obvious tension. An emotional crescendo built within Janet as she recalled her own upbringing, rooted in the unwavering bonds of family, revealing the importance of honesty in any relationship. Every instinct inside her screamed for action, each heartbeat urging her to unearth the truth. Before she realized it, the clock struck and only 5 minutes remained. What if this wedding proceeded without acknowledging the hardship Claire's family faced? Janet felt a sudden surge of determination, her legs carrying her toward Claire. They met in a small alcove of the church, laughter echoing from the main hall, the peace of the scene a stark contrast to the storm within her. "Claire, can we talk?" Janet asked, her voice trembling against the joyous sounds around them. What began as a casual request morphed into an emotional confrontation as Janet spoke of the letter. Claire's eyes widened, shock washing over her like a tidal wave, but deep down, a flicker of steel ignited.
"I should have told you," Claire whispered, her voice barely audible. As her truth spilled forth, it became clear. She had been driven by dreams and ambition, refusing to let her family's struggles define her. The truth about her parents was heavy, but Claire bore it with a tenacity that spoke volumes. Suddenly, the church bells chimed, a clear signal of the countdown to their vows, the air crackling with tension, love, and uncertainty. Janet stood on the edge, caught between the values she held dear and the profound connection developing in front of her. They were two women from different worlds, now interwoven by love. The wedding unfolded before them, a future at stake, but which path would they choose? As the doors of the chapel swung open, the audience awaited their next move, the air thick with unanswered questions. What would happen when families collide in the quest for understanding and love? Everything. With the bell's last toll lingering in the air, the tension morphed into a fragile stillness. Janet's palms were clammy as she looked straight into Claire's eyes, searching for the words neither of them knew how to say. There lay a quiet desperation between them, a palpable thread they had both sensed but never truly acknowledged. "Claire," Janet began, her breath hitching, "this is your day, the happiest moment of your life. I don't want to ruin that for anyone." The weight of the letter still loomed heavily in her mind, a daily reminder of the misery that could edge in through the heart of their joy. Claire's face wavered between surprise and defiance. "You don't have to protect me, Janet. I can handle the truth, whatever that may be." Her voice was steadier than Janet had expected, but the defensive posture reminded Janet of a child ready to face the storm on her own. "In that case," Janet pressed on, her breath coming swiftly, "what happens when the storm arrives? You need support, a safety net. Your family, She pointed with a slight tremor toward the vibrant gathering just beyond the chapel doors. They have to know. Doesn't he have the right to understand? Claire looked at her, the fire in her eyes flickering as she wrestled internally. How could I have... I wanted to protect everyone. I thought that moving forward on my own would mean I wasn't defined by my past. As Claire's voice cracked, Janet felt her heart lurch. Every ounce of maternal instinct within her wanted to reach out, to draw Claire into an embrace and shield her from the tumultuous truth swirling around them. But we stand with you, not just as your mother-in-law, but as your ally. We can face whatever it is together. You're not alone. Standing on the edge of the moment, the air was electric. Claire's resolve faltered. For the first time, she glimpsed the possibility of vulnerability, friendship, and familial bonds that went deeper than mere tradition. It was profoundly real, wrapped in layers of understanding and resilience. God, Janet!
Claire exclaimed, her face flushed. Her voice trembled between sorrow and relief. I didn't know how to share this with anyone. I thought keeping it secret would make everything better. A soft smile crept onto Janet's lips. We've all been there, haven't we? Trying to shield our loved ones from the truth because we're afraid of how it will be taken? Claire nodded, tears pooling in her eyes. But before they could dive deeper, the church doors swung open. Voices spilled in, mingling with laughter and joy, pulling them back to the reckoning of the moment. Janet straightened her back, steeling herself against the joyous anticipation that filled the hall with energy. What do you want to do? Walk in like this? Or do we address what's at stake first? Claire hesitated, caught between the yearning for the love that surrounded her and the reality that would soon unveil itself. I don't know if I can face my father or David, not today. But if I don't, she met Janet's gaze, then you might always wonder if the truth would have set you free. Maybe this is your moment to embrace who you are completely. The words hung in the air. It felt like a turning point, a tipping scale where love met courage in the quietest of ways. The sound from the church surged behind them like an ocean rolling in, beckoning them toward the altar, to the promises that felt both beautiful and burdensome. Should they step inside, embracing hope in the face of fear, or confront the waves crashing upon the shore? The moment they took would redefine everything. As Janet reached for Claire's hand, she felt the tremor of countless possibilities thrumming between them. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together, she reassured firmly. But even as they began to step toward the threshold of the chapel, a flicker of doubt crossed Claire's face. Would the truth claim more than they intended? As they stood poised at the entrance, a familiar figure appeared, a figure that could change everything. Is that David? Claire gasped, her voice trembling. Janet's heart plunged. How would they prepare him for the truth? Would this wedding unfold as planned, or was it about to spiral into chaos? The unmistakable figure of David drew closer, his smile bright against the backdrop of the chapel. A rush of laughter followed him, a sound so innocent, so joy-filled, that it cut through the thick cloud of dread hanging over Claire and Janet. In that moment, the shadows of uncertainty deepened, a stark contrast to the light David brought with him. "Claire," he called, his voice ringing out with palpable excitement. He had no idea how much hung in the balance, how the very air felt charged with the unsaid. Janet tightened her grip on Claire's hand. "This is it," she whispered. "You have to decide now." Claire was frozen, her heart racing. Part of her wanted to run to David, to bury the weight of her truth under layers of wedding bliss and spoken vows.
The other part screamed for honesty, for freedom, for the chance to reclaim her narrative. But could she really do it now, with so much on the line? David reached them, his expression a mixture of joy and relief at seeing Claire, almost as if the rest of the world faded away. "You look stunning!" He leaned in to kiss her cheek, and for a brief second, Claire felt comforted in his presence. "Thanks," Claire managed to say, her voice barely escaping her throat. Yet the warmth of his affection only accentuated the chill of the truth swirling in her mind. She swallowed hard. The warmth of their shared laughter felt like a fleeting fantasy,
when wrapped around the monumental reality she was holding back. "Are you ready?" David's enthusiasm dazzled, but it was too bright to pierce Claire's fog of uncertainty. She glanced up at him, noticing the way the sunlight caught the strands of his hair, the way his eyes sparkled with sincerity. He was ready, wasn't he? He thought today would be a celebration, not a reckoning. Janet leaned closer, sensing her daughter-in-law's turmoil. "Whatever you're feeling, Claire, you have to be honest. This is your life, your story. Don't let it be dictated by fear." With every beat of her heart, Claire felt the pull of love battling the entanglements of her past. What if she broke this perfect illusion? What if the wedding was shattered? Would she lose David? "Claire, you all right?" David's voice cut through her thoughts, an anchor to reality. He searched her face, confusion flickering in his expression. "You seem a little off." She hesitated, her breath quickening. "I have something I need to tell you, something important." As she opened her mouth to speak, the church doors swung wide, revealing a wave of family and friends pouring in like a tide of warmth and laughter. The delightful chaos brought a moment of pause, but it felt deafening at that instant. "Let's join them, come on," David urged, taking her hand before she could finish her thought. Caught in the wave, Claire was swept along, unsure and trembling. She glanced at Janet, who gave her an encouraging nod, though Janet's eyes mirrored her own trepidation. Once inside, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. The aisle awaited them, lined with flowers that seemed to nod approvingly, urging everyone forward. It felt almost surreal, as the reality of what was coming collided with all the joy of the day. As they walked down the aisle, David's grip remained firm, his face radiating bliss. But with each step, Claire felt the weight growing heavier, a burden that would not release her, not while everyone around smiled blissfully ignorant. Would it be this easy to dive into joy when shadows lurked so close? Suddenly, something cut through her spiraling thoughts, a loud gasp from the crowd, faces turning in unexpected shock. Claire's heart sank. What now? In that moment, she knew she was one step away from a revelation that might change everything. "Claire!"
"Someone!" shouted from the back. The voice was familiar, filled with concern and urgency. As Claire turned, her breath caught. There was her father, eyes wide, expression filled with disbelief. "You need to come here, now." The weight of secret and truth crushed down on her. Did they all need to know? Would she face the music here, on what was supposed to be a day of joy, or try to escape into the safety of a dream that felt more like a nightmare? With uncertainty swirling around her, Claire felt the ground tremble beneath her. The echoes of her past were calling her back. What would she choose? Confront the truth, or lose herself in what was supposed to be her transformative moment? Her father's voice rang loud in her ears. It was time to reveal everything. Claire felt a storm brewing inside her. Her father's piercing gaze held a world of unanswered questions. The warmth of the chapel faded, replaced by an icy grip of panic. Behind her, David was blissfully unaware, his laughter ringing out like distant chimes from a playground, innocent, free. "Claire, please, we need to talk," her father insisted, stepping closer, urgency etched on his face. At that moment, every eye in the room turned to her, faces painted with curiosity and confusion. She could sense the moment stretching taut like a bowstring, the energy humming with anticipation. The wedding, the vows, the laughter, all the joyful moments seemed to hang on the precipice of her next words. She found her voice wavering. "I can't just leave, Dad. It's an emergency, Claire. You deserve to know the truth, before you go any further." His words felt like arrows piercing through her hesitation. And there it was, the truth she had buried deep, the truth that this day could unravel everything. The laughter around her morphed into a cacophony, stinging her ears. With shaking hands, she pulled away from David, and the light in his eyes dimmed momentarily as he registered the change in her demeanor. "Where are you going?" he asked, a strain in his voice, confusion creeping in. "Just a second, please," she muttered, not really knowing who she was trying to appease. The excitement of a wedding day now seemed frivolous compared to the revelation of what hung in the air. She moved towards her father, each step feeling like wading through thick mud.
What is going on? Her heartbeat thudded in her chest, quick and frantic. Claire, it's about your mother. Those words struck her in the gut. It was not just a secret about her, but about the very foundation of her family, a legacy of tangled emotions. What do you mean? Mom is... she's fine. But doubt crept in like a shadow, twisting at her gut. No, Claire. He took a breath, steadying himself, and looked deep into her eyes as if searching for a bridge to the truth. Your mother didn't just leave. She had reasons, and it's time you knew. Claire felt as if the ground had shifted beneath her feet.
The family ties she had held onto so tightly felt suddenly fragile. What are you saying? That she... what? That she lied? In a way, yes. His voice lowered to a near whisper, holding the weight of shattered illusions. She left to protect us all. But I think it's time you learned the full story. You can't move on without knowing your past. David, still standing with confusion written all over his face, called out, "Claire, are you okay?" His voice was laced with concern, and guilt pricked at her. How could she drag him into this? "Just give me a moment," she shouted back, the urgency of her father's revelation tying her throat in knots. "We may not have much time," her father insisted, his eyes flickering to David, then back to her. "You need to hear this before that band starts playing, and everyone expects you to say I do." Claire felt torn apart, unraveling in front of the very people she loved most. The truth threatened to wash over her like a tidal wave. With her father's words echoing in her mind, she realized her wedding day was about to be engulfed by hidden truths from the past. As she hesitated on the edge of revelation, the band began to play, the melody swirling around her, underscoring the tension in the air. She could almost feel the moments of joy slipping away, replaced with unearthed pain. What was the truth her father was holding back, and would sharing it shatter the life she had envisioned? "Claire, please," he urged again, desperation ringing through the air. "You need to decide. Would her today belong to the love she felt, or to the shadows of her past that were threatening to consume it?" Claire's stomach tightened as her father took another step closer. His expression was a cross between determination and dread, his hands trembling slightly at his sides. The music flowed around them, a joyful backdrop at odds with the turmoil inside her. Every note felt like a reminder of what was slipping away. "Tell me," she whispered, her voice barely rising above the gentle strains of the wedding march. "What's this truth?" Her father exhaled slowly, as if each breath carried the burden of years. "It's complicated, Claire. Your mother, she struggles with something that shaped our family long before you were born." "What do you mean? What could possibly justify—" Claire's voice caught in her throat. How could a secret justify leaving her and her father with a gaping hole in their lives? "She thought she could shield you from it," he continued, his gaze unwavering. "But in her attempt to protect, she hurt us all." Tears prickled at the corners of her eyes. Would a simple truth alter the fabric of everything she believed? She wanted to scream, to run, but the weight of her father's words held her firmly in place. "Claire, she battled with her own pain. You have to understand. She believed leaving would keep you safe." "Safe from what?" Claire's brow furrowed, connecting dots that seemed to shift with every revelation. What could have been so terrible? "Your mother was in a dangerous place," he said, the sincerity in his voice making it harder to breathe. "There were things beyond her control, things that haunted her. I wanted to tell you, but it was never the right time." Claire glanced toward David, still standing with a frown pinching his brow. She wanted to move back to him, to reach out. The man she chose, with his gentle smile, was waiting for her. But her father's words anchored her. How could she leave without acknowledging this pain? "Is it about her past? Did something happen before I was born?" "Yes." He paused, swallowing hard as if the words were a jagged rock. "It involves choices she made, and people she couldn't trust. I never wanted to drag you into our mess." With each word, the truth felt more like a weapon. "Then why now? Why on the day I'm supposed to commit to someone?" "Because you deserve the full picture, Claire. I don't want you to live with a shadow hanging over your marriage, just like your mother did with ours." The music swelled, a cheery tune that seemed to taunt her. It painted a stark contrast to the anxious whispers in her head and the tears that threatened to spill. "Can you look into David's eyes and promise him honesty?
Promise him you'll never let this shadow loom over your head like your mother did." Her father's voice felt like a lifeline, but the weight of his request was crippling. As thoughts collided in her mind, she felt the tug of loyalty to both her father and her fiancé. One footsteps away from unveiling a future, the other bearing the weight of a family secret. "Dad," she said slowly, "what if I can't handle the truth you're telling me?" He took a deep breath, his eyes full of an odd mix of hope and concern. "It may seem overwhelming, but trust me, it's better than living a lie." Time stood still, the moment so fragile that the tiniest breath could shatter it. Suddenly, David stepped closer. "Claire, are you—" His words faded as he sensed the changes in her. "Just give me a moment," she snapped, panic flaring. The last thing she wanted was to drag him into the middle of this storm. "Claire," her father urged, "it's your choice. Love isn't just about joy, it's about understanding and walking through darkness together." She searched David's face for reassurance, for strength. There between them stood the unknown. Would the truth unite them or drive them apart? As her heart raced, another piece of clarity washed over her. This moment could change everything. Could she step into the truth and embrace it before it enveloped her entirely? With that question echoing in her mind, the wedding band struck the first notes of "Here Comes the Bride." The door to her past and present stood wide open. What lay beyond? As the first notes of the wedding march echoed through the room, Claire felt like she was standing on the edge of a precipice.
Each heartbeat drummed louder in her ears, drowning out the laughter and conversations that surrounded her. The guests, dressed in their finest, swayed with the music, blissfully unaware of the storm raging within her. "Claire," her father said softly, snapping her back to reality. "I know this is daunting, but you can make it through." His gaze bore into her, steady and pleading. She shook her head, taking a step back. "But what if the truth hurts too much? What if it changes everything?" "Sometimes," he said, swallowing hard, "the truth is messy, but it can also be freeing. You deserve to know." The flickering candles cast shadows across the elegantly decorated room, mirroring the chaos inside her. Claire's eyes darted to David, who was still silhouetted against the archway, his brow furrowing deeper as he watched her. She could see the love in his gaze, but now doubt flickered there too. The question loomed: was he searching for answers or seeking reassurance that she was still the woman he loved? "Do you love him?" her father asked softly, as if it were the most important question in the world. "Yes," she replied, her voice more confident, even amidst the turmoil. "But I can't shake this fear that I'm stepping into a world built on lies. Claire, honesty is the bedrock of any relationship. You are embarking on a journey together. Don't let the weight of the past pull you down." Claire's heart raced again. Understanding flickered in her mind as she recalled her mother's absence. What did she fear? What pushed her away? Her father hesitated, but then the floodgates opened. She loved fiercely, Claire, but she was also afraid of her own demons, things as she faced long before she met me. She thought she was protecting you from her scars. As pieces of a puzzle clicked together in her mind, Claire felt both angry and sorrowful. But leaving, was that the answer? No, it wasn't. It was a desperate mistake, he said. We all make choices that haunt us, but running from them doesn't erase them. You must confront them. David, still standing at the threshold, moved a step closer, concern etched across his face. Claire, what's happening? Her breath hitched. The very air felt charged with unspoken words. Claire needed the strength to hurt and heal. I need to talk to you. David took another step forward. About what? Is it your father? No, it's about us. Claire felt a wave of determination wash over her. I need to be honest with you before we take a step forward. Okay, he replied, uncertainty lacing his tone. But we're supposed to be getting married, not dissecting family secrets. This secret, it affects us, David. It affects our future. As his expression shifted, Claire watched as the realization sunk in. The light-hearted joy of wedding conversations faded, replaced with a heaviness that filled the air between them. Tell me, he urged, his voice steady, though his eyes betrayed a storm of emotions.
I don't want to start our life together with shadows lurking behind us. The moment felt monumental. I need you to know everything. Before she could continue, Claire's father stepped back, giving her space to breathe. The music swelled around them, a bittersweet sound that mixed happiness and sorrow. She was teetering on the edge of a revelation that could shatter or strengthen her bond with David.
With her heart racing, she took a deep breath. I'm ready to face the truth. But was David? As she looked into his eyes, the thought echoed. Would the truth free them, or bury them deeper into a past they couldn't escape? Could they step into this together, or would the reality of secrets be too much to bear? The crowd continued to cheer for the bride, oblivious to the emotional turmoil unraveling just steps away. What awaited them in this moment of clarity? Claire's stomach twisted as she searched David's gaze, hoping for some signal that he was ready to hear her. The cheers of the guests swirled around them, but it felt like they were wrapped in a cocoon of silence. Time stretched painfully, every second pregnant with uncertainty. Claire? David prompted gently, his voice so packed with concern it nearly broke her resolve. What is it? Please, just tell me. She glanced around the room, catching sight of her father's supportive nod. He was right. Facing the truth was the only way to truly begin this new chapter. But each word she thought to speak felt heavy, laden with the weight of consequences. Okay, she finally said, voice trembling. You deserve to know about my mother, about the secret she took with her when she left. A flicker of confusion passed through David's eyes. Your mother? I knew she wasn't in your life, but she didn't just disappear out of nowhere, David. There's more to it. The truth started tumbling out, a fragile cascade of memories and emotions. I grew up with questions about her choices and why she left us. Didn't your father explain? His brow furrowed deeply, perhaps feeling the tension building in Claire's voice. He did, but even he didn't have all the answers. My mother was terrified of something in her past that haunted her, something she thought she could shield me from. Her heart raced as she spoke. I found some old letters she wrote before leaving. They talked about a darkness she couldn't escape, and she believed it would consume me too. That's why she vanished. It was never about wanting to leave us. It was about protecting us. David's face remained impassive, but Claire could see the gears turning in his mind. But why didn't you tell me? Why wait until now? Because I was afraid, the words burst forth before she could contain them. Afraid it would change how you see me. I couldn't bear the thought of you looking at me the way I've looked at her, with disappointment, with fear.
His features softened slightly, and for a moment she thought she saw a flicker of understanding in his eyes. Claire, I could never look at you that way. This doesn't change how I feel about you. Can't you see? Claire pressed on, feeling desperation claw at her. If I can't shake my past, how can I believe I can build a future? What if I'm just like her? What if one day I'll wake up and run away from all this? Stop. Just stop, he said softly, stepping closer, a sense of urgency in his tone. You're not your mother. You're not defined by her choices. We're two different people walking our own path. The sincerity in his voice sent a rush of hope through her. She wanted to believe that they could rise above it all, that love could conquer the shadows of their pasts. But doubt lingered in her mind like an unwelcome guest. What if it harms us, David? What if I'm too broken to fix? In that moment, an undeniable silence enveloped them. The world around them faded even more, the music losing its charm, conversations hushed to faint whispers. All that remained was the two of them, two souls drifting closer, yet standing miles apart with the weight of the truth. David took her hands, his grip warm but firm. Whatever it is, we tackle it together. I won't let you go through this alone. Their eyes locked, and Claire saw the compassion, the strength she had feared would falter. You really mean that? Of course I do. But Claire, we have to confront this together right now, or else it's just going to fester. As Claire took a deep, steadying breath, she realized that this was the moment that would either dissolve her fears or solidify them in unimaginable ways. Could sharing her darkest fears truly build the foundation they needed? Or would these hidden truths tear them apart before they even began? Claire swallowed hard, preparing to speak again. There's one more thing. But before she could reveal it, an unexpected interruption came from the crowd, echoes of laughter morphing into shouts of excitement, all eyes turning toward the entrance. Claire's heart raced as she turned, wondering what could possibly change everything. As Claire turned toward the entrance, a flood of unexpected emotions crashed over her like a wave. The joyous shouts and laughter pulsed with an energy that felt surreal, tilting the delicate balance of the moment she had built with David. She blinked, trying to refocus on the scene ahead. Her stomach churned in response to the sudden chaos. A tall figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, framed by the soft golden light spilling from inside the hall. Claire squinted, her heart thumping as she recognized the familiar outline. Her mother, Teresa. Gasps filled the room as the chatter quieted to a stunned whisper.
Time seemed to stand still. Claire's thoughts spiraled out of control. How could this be happening?
The woman who had vanished from their lives was now standing right in front of her, looking older, wearied by the passage of time, yet stirring an unwelcome mix of dread and hope inside Claire. David's grip on her hands faltered, surprise etched across his face. "Is that—" His question trailed off, uncertainty clouding his gaze. The collective silence in the room hummed with tension, 1,000 unanswered questions hanging in the air. Claire felt a tightening in her chest. Part of her yearned to run to her mother, to embrace her and plead for answers, while another part wanted to retreat from the tumult of emotions that far too many years of absence had brought forward. Teresa stepped further into the hall, glancing around and meeting Claire's eyes. The moment felt electric, charged with unspoken pain and unfulfilled desire. Claire's breath caught in her throat. There was a time she had dreamed of this encounter, reconciliation, closure, love. But seeing her mother now, all those dreams twisted into anxiety. "Claire," Teresa called, her voice shaky but firm, laced with hope that splintered against the confusion settled in the room. "I'm here to explain." Before Claire could react, her father broke the silence, anger boiling to the surface. "You think you can just waltz back in after all these years?" His voice thundered, and he claimed a protective space around Claire, as if deflecting the past from crashing into her present. "You have no right." David remained by Claire's side, his presence steadying, yet she could feel the tension radiating between him and her father. "Let her speak," he encouraged softly, looking at Claire as if to say that she should trust this moment. Fear gripped Claire's heart tighter, but curiosity flickered within her. What could her mother possibly say to explain the years of absence? The echoes of her childhood memories unraveled, swirling with the emotions of the present. Teresa took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering as she moved closer. "I know I've made mistakes," she started, her voice trembling. "I chose to leave to protect you, to keep you away from the darkness of my past. But I'm back now because I can't let another moment pass without trying to make things right." Claire felt the heat of anger and longing mashed together, fighting for dominance in her heart. Would she allow herself to hope? But how could she trust the woman who had left her without explanation, without a goodbye? Tears threatened to spill as she looked from Teresa to David and back at her mother. "You can't just dive back in like it's that easy," Claire insisted, her voice trembling, a whirlwind of emotion spinning in her chest. "This isn't just about you." "I know, Claire," Teresa implored, her eyes reflecting the struggle of all those wasted years. "But I need you to understand. There's so much more you don't know." David squeezed Claire's hand, silently urging her to consider the weight of that revelation. What could come next? What did Teresa hold in her heart that could balance or tip the scales of their fragile relationship? Somewhere deep inside, Claire knew this was only the beginning of a painful, transformative journey. What would it take to break down those walls and face what came next? As Claire wrestled with her emotions, the crowd leaned in, the tension palpable. What would her choice be now, in this pivotal moment? Would she stand firm in her hurt, or step into the unknown like the void had been a calling? The realization washed over her like cold water. There was so much left unsaid, and this moment held the key to her past, present, and future. Claire opened her mouth to ask, to demand answers, knowing now that choices had to be made, hard choices that could never be undone. But suddenly, an unexpected loud crash erupted from behind her, sending another wave of chaos through the air. What now? The fragile moment had shattered once again. The crash startled everyone. Gasps echoed as eyes darted around, scrambling to find the source of the commotion. Claire turned abruptly, her heart racing. Was it the crowd, the weight of unspoken words, or was fate mocking her once more? A table in the corner had toppled over, its contents scattering, glassware shattering, plates clattering against the floor. The noise was deafening and chaotic. The uneasy energy in the hall rippled as people tried to regain their commotion. For Claire, the tumult felt like a metaphor for her life. Everything she thought she understood was crashing down around her. "What just happened?" David's voice cut through the din, urgency etched into his features. He squeezed Claire's hand tighter, grounding her in the moment.
She blinked through the chaos, trying to refocus. Her eyes returned to Teresa, who stood frozen in place, her expression a mix of concern and fear. Suddenly, Claire understood how fragile this moment was, how easily everything could slip away like sand through her fingers. "Is everyone all right?" shouted a familiar voice. It was Mark, Claire's friend, rushing toward the scene. He helped a woman up from the floor, steadying her with an arm around her shoulders. The distraction pulled attention away from the looming confrontation, but Claire felt the weight of the moment still pressing on her chest. All Claire could think about was her mother standing in the room, a woman she had longed to see again, and now the moment was distorted by this mishap. Is this a sign? She wondered. A part of her felt that fate was looking down, shaking its head at her relentless curiosity to know more. When the hubbub started to settle, Claire took a deep breath and faced her mother. Teresa's eyes held a desperate plea, as if begging for understanding. The tension still lingered, and Claire could feel it in the air around them. It twisted like a knife in her heart. "Okay," Claire finally managed, her voice firmer now. "If you want to explain, then do it. Just be honest with me."
She hoped her words would hold them all together, even if just for a moment. Teresa stepped closer, drawing a shaky breath. "Everything I did, I thought I was protecting you. The reason I left, Claire, was far deeper than you understand. I lost my way. There were dangers, things I had to break free from, for your sake." David shifted beside Claire, his curiosity piqued. What kind of dangers? His tone was steady, yet probing, searching for clarity amidst the haze. "The life I was living, it wasn't safe," Teresa admitted, her voice shaking. "I made choices that turned me into someone I despised, driven by fear and desperation. I thought if I walked away, I could save you both from a life dragged into darkness." Claire's heart raced even faster. A part of her wanted to feel compassion, a hope, a glimmer of understanding, but it was quickly overshadowed by the years of abandonment and pain. "So you thought disappearing was the answer?" Claire shot back, the anger now blazing within her. "Did you even think of how I would feel? What about my childhood, my memories?" Teresa's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I know I was wrong. Please, just listen to the rest. There's still so much you don't know. Things happened while I was gone that changed everything." The room began to close in on Claire. She felt suffocated by uncertainty. "What more could there possibly be?" she challenged, her voice quieter now, the weight of her emotions palpable. But before Teresa could respond, another crash erupted outside, this time more thunderous, shaking the very foundation of the hall. A sudden gust of wind blew through the open doors, scattering the remnants of celebration and leaving confusion in its wake. "What is happening?" Claire shouted, her heart pounding louder than ever. She could sense the walls of her past threatening to close in, whispering dread and unrelenting anxiety. And in that moment, she realized, it wasn't just her mother's return that held the answers. There were mysteries surrounding them both, secrets waiting to be unearthed. Claire's mind raced, each question begging for resolution, unsure if this was the end of chaos or the beginning of something far greater. Would she be brave enough to uncover the truth? As the wind howled outside, it felt like a prelude to the storm brewing within her. What revelations awaited? What could possibly shift their turbulent reality into clarity? Claire braced herself as her mother's eyes held hers once more, the power of signifying what lay ahead, the truth about to unravel. The turbulence in the room echoed Claire's heart, each beat drumming louder as uncertainty swirled around her like autumn leaves caught in a whirlwind. The crowd held its breath, every eye flickering between Claire, her mother, and David, who stood caught in the eye of the storm with her. She could sense the rush of emotions cracking the facade of control she had clung on to for so long. "What else is there?" Claire pressed, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and fury. "You've been gone for years. You just can't waltz back into my life and expect me to embrace you with open arms." Teresa's voice wavered, but steadiness seeped through like a thread of hope. "I know I hurt you, Claire. I thought leaving was the only choice. My demons were suffocating, and I didn't want to pull you into that. But I see now that running only left scars, on both of us." David squeezed Claire's hand tighter, grounding her as memories mingled with emotions. The smile of a mother, the emptiness left behind, the surging waves of abandonment that had roiled within her for so long. Her heart raced as she wrestled with each reality hitting her like a tidal wave. "Did you think about me in all those years?" Claire's voice barely rose above a whisper. "Did you ever wonder what life was like without you?" As Teresa prepared to respond, another interruption burst forth, louder than before. A wind-blown crash against a window, rattling glass and reverberating through the hall in an unsettling cadence. It felt like nature itself was echoing Claire's inner turmoil. "Mom, please," Claire urged, desperation wrapping around her words. "Tell me the truth now before I lose this chance forever." Teresa's expression softened, and she stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "There are things I cannot change, but there also lies the promise of truth, my truth. I was in a dangerous relationship, a man who pulled me down a dark path. It consumed me, and I didn't want you to see me broken. I left to protect you from the spiral of destruction I felt so helpless against." Those words pierced through Claire, mingling relief and pain. "You could have reached out, contacted me. You could have found a way to come back." David watched intently, his presence a stable force beside Claire, even as emotions cascaded in waves. "We can face the past together," he whispered, almost as if wanting to shield her from the storm around them. "I thought if I disappeared, I could save you," Teresa continued, tears now spilling down her cheeks. "But all I did was let fear lead me away. I never meant to break our family." The pain revealed itself in Claire's eyes as the shards of truth collided. Her mother's fears had long cosseted her until they suffocated all options of communication. "And now? What have you returned for? To make excuses? To apologize?" "No," Teresa whispered, the enormity of her presence looming in Claire's mind. "To seek your forgiveness. I can't change what I did, but I want to try and rebuild what we lost." Standing there, Claire felt a flicker of a long-forsaken dream pushing against the barrier she had constructed around her heart. Forgiveness seemed like a distant dream, yet the hope of understanding seeped in cautiously. The crowd held their collective breath, waiting for Claire's response. The winds outside howled a mournful tune, a reminder of the fragility of connection and trust.
Claire met her mother's gaze, searching for sincerity, a mother's love tangled with remorse for the past. It was the earnestness she had long missed, yet plagued by anger still simmered beneath her surface. "You want forgiveness? Then show me you're here to stay. Show me you want to be a part of my life again." "I do." Teresa's voice trembled but resonated with conviction. "I want to face the shadows. I want to be the mother you deserve." The moment felt profound. It was as if the universe swayed with them, destiny knocking softly at their hearts. Claire felt the walls around her heart crack and begin to peel, revealing the light of new possibilities. But there was one more truth she had to face. Hers and David's future hung continually in the balance. Resolving her past didn't just involve Teresa. It intertwined with the dreams she had set for herself and the life she envisioned with a man beside her. She turned to face him. Warmth radiated from David's eyes, holding the tension and love effortlessly. "David," she began, "I need you to know everything about my past, the secrets that may linger in the shadows. I don't want to walk into our marriage half-formed." He nodded earnestly. "I want to know, Claire. I need to understand your history to support you moving forward." The beauty of their connection wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. But it didn't replace the fear of unearthing deeper truths. "I may be a reflection of my mother's past," she confessed, "but I want to create my own future. I don't want to carry the weight of her burdens with me." Teresa watched with hopeful eyes, the flow of remorse shifting into an air of determination. "I'm here to face those demons, Claire." It felt surreal, a family gathering being stitched back together in the most unconventional of ways. David took a step forward. "Together we can face whatever it is that haunts us. Your truth has no power over your love for the life you and I want to build."
The warmth of his words cocooned Claire, and she found a spark of hope igniting within her. She realized at that moment they were all stronger together, united by love, courage, and vulnerability. Yes, the word emerged softly, yet it resonated with newfound strength. The atmosphere in the hall began to shift, a ripple of understanding weaving through those assembled. The whispers subsided, replaced by a delicate calm that embraced the remnants of turmoil. Then, like a turning tide, Claire stepped closer to her mother. "If you want my forgiveness, it begins now. But we must embrace the truth together, not as strangers, but as a family willing to rebuild." Teresa took a deep, trembling breath, and Claire felt the shift through her own heart, crossing the bridge of pain that had long divided them. "You will never be alone again, Claire. We will walk through this together. I promise."
And so, as the winds outside began to calm, falling leaves swirled gently toward the earth, and the crowd looked on, Claire found her voice to reclaim not just her story, but also the fragments of a life woven in love. This was the moment they would breathe life back into dreams daunted by old fears, and embrace the journey ahead, together, a journey laced with truth, resilience, and a bond fortified by the storms they were bold enough to face. As the last remnants of doubt filled the room, Claire turned her gaze to David, whose smile radiated warmth and peace, inviting her to unfold. They were ready to step forward, hand in hand, into their future, not just as individuals, but as partners entwined in life's deepest truths. At this pivotal crossroads, hearts open wide and vulnerability embraced, their family was on the cusp of healing. With stitched souls, they would breathe fresh hopes on the new beginnings forged in the fires of courage. This was the moment everything changed. And now, dear friends, it's your turn to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the heartbeat of this community alive. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending, and share your thoughts on love and truth. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.